Hi there, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since I've posted on my Twingo channel. I've been fairly busy. One of the things that happened was I had a misfire on the RS and I replaced the fuel pump and the sender unit. Now I had this in stock, exactly the same part number. This was meant for the GT, the Twingo GT, but it's exactly the same part number. And this is the original one which came out, and I thought it might be failing, but it turned out to be something else. What I found is putting the new one in is that the fuel gauge was wrong. So when it got down to reserve, I only had 1 litre of fuel left and the car was stuttering. It was like literally as soon as the reserve light goes on, you've normally got about 30 miles. And what I've found is that the floats are different. So it's a different angle on the actual float arms. So yeah, I could have actually just sort of tweaked this until it matched that one, but I thought, well, they're actually quite easy to take off. As you can see here, it's just the pin goes through the hole. Let me show you. That goes in through that hole there, and then that then clips on to the armature, which goes for the fuel sender. So I thought, well, let's just swap them round and let's see whether the fuel sender actually goes back to sort of roughly where it was. So that's the plan. I've put 20 litres of fuel in. The car was down to, I think, about just before the reserve comes on, so there's probably about 25 litres, 23 litres in there maybe, something like that. I'm not going to put the original one back in because this is probably the original 15-year-old pump, and they do overheat and die. This has been running absolutely fine, not a problem with fuel pressure or anything like that. It's just the fuel sender unit here with the sliding resistance on that track. And again, that angle is really important because with this arm up here, when it's oh, hang on, let's go to there. When that's full, it was actually getting to full way before it was actually full, and then when it got down to reserve, it was pretty much out of fuel and gave me no reserve whatsoever. So I'm going to put the original armature. Let me just get that. The original armature, yeah, there is a distinct difference in angle, just enough to actually cause a discrepancy on the fuel gauge to how much fuel is in there. So I'm going to put the original fuel gauge on there. It all looks fine. The foam doesn't look degraded or anything like that. So back in the old days, they used to have a little float, like a little float bowl. So I'm just going to clip this on. I'm going to do it two-handed, not show you, because it's I don't want to damage it. Oh, hang on, I'm putting on the wrong one, aren't I? It's going to be this one here. So I'm just going to put that in there and get this back in the car. Now, it was actually showing 2 bars above the half when I pulled up. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it's got now. So taking the pump in and out is actually quite easy. I've got the tool to do it. Yes, it's a bit smelly in here. I've got all the doors open so I don't fume myself out. So yeah, let's just get this back in. So it's all back in again. Pretty easy to do. The O-ring which goes around the whole top of it I'll have to replace later. It's looking a little bit flat, but I'll order one, and it's pretty easy. The tool I use is one of those, so it actually engages with the teeth on the ring that goes around the fuel ring down there, and you can do it up by hand. You don't have to do it up with the tool. It's tight enough. So okay, let's go and power up the car and see what is going on. I have disconnected the battery, so if anybody wants to post in there, you're supposed to disconnect the battery, I have done. I don't want any sparks or anything here because it is quite fumy. Okay, so the fuel gauge is looking much more sensible. Yes, it's about half a tank of fuel in here. It was at least 2 bars above that, approaching nearly 3. So I filled it up with 20 litres and it was 3 bars above, and it just dropped down below 2 bars above the half. So I think that's going to be a little bit more sensible on the fuel gauge. level, and yeah, it was just the float bar was just I could bend that bar, but it was easier just to swap them over. So let's just put the car back together again and let it all the fumes go, because I'm getting quite lightheaded, and let the car air out, and yeah, I think we're done. The car's back together again, everything's all good, and I'm just looking at this, and when I put the arm back on here, mainly to keep it with the old one, I'll keep hold of this for a short while. Yeah, the arm is touching that, whereas the other one was about that far off of the bin. So yeah, just that much actually caused the fuel gauge to be pretty off, actually. Another issue happens with these as they get older is that the track on the fuel gauge on the resistor network there gets worn out, and you get then an erratic fuel gauge. These things are so easy to replace. I think this was the one which went into the car, was about 80 quid. And it was actually designed for, or it was marked as being for the 1.2 turbo GT. But when I looked on the part numbers on this, and then I looked at the one which went in there, exactly the same part numbers. The only difference seemed to be was that the one for the RS was about £100 extra. So it was about nearly 180 quid. But when I took them both out and had a look, everything looked the same. The motor had the same part number. I think it was just the angle of this, you know. So it was if you've got an issue with your RS Twingo with the fuel gauge, or the actual motor itself, or the fuel pump stops working, get the GT one and then just bend the arm up a little bit until you get it right. I was lucky I've actually got one in stock, so I just basically threw it on, and it's been fine except the fuel gauge. So yeah, so the fuel gauge is all good now on that. I nearly ran out. The car was starting to really stutter, and it was on just turned onto the reserve. You get the little ping, and then the little red bar starts flashing, and then about a mile and a half later, I ended up nearly breaking down. Luckily, I coasted into the fuel station and filled up. And then when I filled it up, it took a full 40. It ended up being 41 litres. So yeah, there was no reserve left. Usually when it's on reserve, it's about 36 litres, because you've got about 4 litres in reserve. So yeah, well, thanks for watching. Just a really quick one. I just wanted to again, either bend the arm or swap the arms over. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on another video. It might be on the Mark I Twingo. See you next time.